so fun to see everybody last night.
I know. We had a wonderful group getting together at the Cooperage for the big forum.
Yeah.
And look, it's Kristin
Hi.
Brey.
Hi.
Where did you go to dinner?
Centro in River West.
Oh, I haven't been there in years, but I loved
Yeah.
it.
So that's where we live, and we went with our neighbors across the street from us, who are just the best people ever. They have three kids who are old enough. The oldest one's a sophomore, and the other two are like second, fourth grade. And so we just left Frankie with them, and then we went to had dinner finally after like loving them but never actually going to dinner. So we finally made it happen, and now I'm back. What are we
Oh, no,
talking about?
a
I
no
love
kids
it.
dinner. Look at
No
that.
kids
And
dinner.
look at you making it
That's
happen.
why it
How many
lasted so long because we just kept talking undisturbed, and then looked at the clock. I was like, "Oh, we gotta go. This kid's gotta go to like bed."
I know. I was just saying before you guys jumped on, I'm like literally in my robe because it's been dark for hours, and I actually like put Charlie down and I laid down in his bed in his dark room, and I'm like, this is so dangerous. Like I might need to set an alarm. But I made
Yeah.
it.
How's everyone gonna hunker down this weekend for the fucking apocalyptic snow? Not even snow, just like cold shit that's
Our annual
happening.
deep freeze.
Is
Yeah.
it really going to
Well,
be
it
like
sounds like the way
that?
people are warning about it. It sounds like it's supposed to be worse than like normal.
That's what I mean. It always feels like it does seem like it's going to be pretty cold, but I think we've all
Like I
been
saw
here.
some like
We're from Wisconsin. We've all done
hysterical,
this before, right?
and maybe that's what it is. Maybe some of the stuff I'm seeing online is like warning the South of how bad it is, who's not used to what it's supposed to be like. But did you guys see that Ted Cruz got on a plane?
Did he make it back? Because he said his staff said he was
He
gonna
was. Oh,
be
did he
back.
say he was coming back?
They were like, he'll be back before the storm. And I was like, why is he going to Laguna? The only person we know in Laguna is Eric Hovde, right? Are they chumming it up?
I
Well,
was in Laguna recently. It is fucking lovely in Laguna,
Yeah.
I will say. We did Disneyland, and then we would like saw friends in Laguna before we went to LA, and it was like our kids were like running naked on the beach, like into like the Pacific Ocean, and I was like, yeah, I get why people want to live here. It's really nice. It's like 70 degrees in January. Like, God damn it.
I know. I'm so not a winter person at all. So it's just like, what am I doing here?
I
Sometimes,
know. We
it's
all like get through it together because like
yeah,
the seasons and the changing of the seasons is so worth it. And like the
it
summer
is.
is amazing, but the winter is
The
just,
summer is.
honestly, I think the winter is what brings us all together. We all get to like complain about it. It's like the one bipartisan issue in Wisconsin is our annoyance of the weather.
Our
But then there's
terrible,
like you
terrible
meet those weird
winters.
people who are like, no, I love the winter. Like, what are you talking about? Like,
Yeah, like my
okay.
mom loves to like go cross country skiing and stuff. It's like,
I've never gone cross country skiing.
yeah, it's like
Have you?
exercising on snow. It's like running on snow.
I've heard. Is it hard?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
it
mean,
sounds.
anybody
It
can do
sounds.
it. It's like probably easier on your body than running, but it's like a lot of exercising. I mean, they do the Birkebeiner up north,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
That is like that's on my. It's on my bucket list to watch and like participate in the crowd and cheer people on. I have no interest in doing
I feel
it.
like you could do that. I could actually see. I just had a vision of you doing the Birkebeiner.
Like participating.
Yeah.
Just covering it and hanging out. You know.
I feel like me drinking in the crowd, hanging out with folks, is much more where we see
Handing out cups of
me.
peppermint schnapps instead of
That sounds
Gatorade.
Right.
right. Yeah.
Funny
Oh.
fun story. The first thing I ever got drunk on was peppermint schnapps. That
Mm.
was the one thing in my parents' liquor cabinet. I figured they would not
Yeah,
know
I think like
was
mine
lower.
was I don't think it's the first time, but I was always stealing the Goldschlager, kind of same vibe.
You're like, I don't think they drink this, so we could get away with
Yeah.
taking some of this and then not noticing that the volume is down.
Yeah.
An,
Um,
an important part of teenager life
The
in
drinking in high
Wisconsin.
school.
of course, yeah.
Taking
Putting
those.
the right amount of water back in, noticing how much you're
Yes.
diluting them so you don't like then you have to switch to the other stuff once you've taken too much of the stuff that's decent.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
But yeah. Okay. So, yes, saw both of you last night and everybody else, which was so good to see everybody. Huge turnout.
Amazing turnout.
Main Street Action
Is
hosted
that
a
so? Here's
forum.
my question on turnout. Like, because Dan, since you saw more of the behind the scenes,
Yeah.
like, what do you think of the percentage of like Main Street Alliance or Action members versus obviously people who are like associated with the campaign versus interested Milwaukeeans who came to the event because they heard about it?
I think so. Sean was sharing some of the information with me because they had members from around the state who came.
Yeah, no, he
And
showed me like the map of like what
yeah.
people came, like how people showed up.
And so I think, a good chunk of the people were from that. And then I know they had like a good number, like at least 100 signups or something like that before I put it in my newsletter and all of that. And then once that got out there, I think that, um, you know, uh, got a little bit more interest in it, and it was like, oh, this is really coming up. Okay, this is a campaign year. This is, we're getting all of these candidates on stage for the first time, and I just think there's so much interest in this race, in this primary in particular, that it's just a really good opportunity to do that. And so I think Sean said that altogether there was like 400 people at the Cooperage last night, which is just nuts, to come out on like a sub-zero Wednesday night to hear from some candidates. And
Well, that's the thing. It's like there's internet interest in political things, which is real and all the time.
yeah,
But then there's like IRL interest, and the people, like, if any of us have planned anything like political, it's kind of like pulling teeth sometimes to get people to actually show up for stuff. Usually there's like a 50% flake rate. So when I pulled up and I saw like just the people were parked, just like the lot was full and it was all down the street, I was like, oh my God, people really are like showing up for this.
Well, that was the thing is like because I didn't even think to ask Sean ahead of time of like promoting the event,
Hmm.
and he was like, "Can you please like?" It was because I made a video being like, "Hey, this is tomorrow," and he was like, "Can you please take that down? Like, we're probably already like gonna break fire code." I was like, "That's literally never happened in like the world of events, not ever, but like usually at events you're still trying to like get people there." So kudos to them as far as what the turnout was. It was awesome.
Yeah.
yeah.
Well,
And
and
then
I
we've
gotta
had more than like 3,000 people have watched the live stream now too.
really.
Yeah.
That's
Well, and I
great.
got to shout out Main Street Action and Main Street Alliance because um, I've been involved with them for a while now, and they support like small business owners and a lot of different policies that help all types of business owners, which covers a wide facet of things. But they're always like, because they're in with the small business owners, they're always doing stuff at cool places where they have members who own businesses. So obviously it was at the Cooperage, which is like a super cool venue right on the river down in Milwaukee. I was with them also on Tuesday. We did a day of action, and that was at a cool place in Madison. And I
I
think,
want to hear more about that too. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I think it helps when you're trying to pull people into the fold and get people more involved in politics to like, as much as we love our county parties and the meetings they have and the locations they have, it's like it's harder to get somebody new to come out to like the Democratic county meeting. And when it's like just at cooler places, I know it's like, we have bigger fish to fry, but I do think it's relevant, and it's like it helps to have these in places where community already likes to gather.
I love that type of approach to just doing campaign events and stuff like that. Just go to weird places, do unconventional things. It doesn't have to be your little wine and cheese plate nonsense,
Are you guys familiar
stuffy,
with?
whatever. It like I remember that's what I liked so much about when Lou Ann Bird was doing the bird songs thing a couple
Hmm.
years ago, and they were just doing like let's play some folk music in somebody's backyard, and instead of the boring panel whatever stuff. And I thought the
Yeah.
Are you
Cooperage
guys
brought a lot of
familiar with Priya
type of energy
Parker?
too.
Are you
What'd
guys
you say?
familiar with Priya Parker? Are you familiar with who Priya Parker is?
No.
So she wrote
It's
the book The Art of Gathering,
Okay.
okay.
and so her whole I don't know, it's like her whole business is basically like teaching people how to like gather and like throw better parties and have intention and who's invited, what are we doing this for? She was really involved in Mamdani's campaign. And
Oh.
like there's a great I'll find the link for it. Basically, like she wrote something like a post-mortem that was like, we won because we threw the better party. Like, and like a diagnosis of his campaign being like, we did things that like made being civically engaged fun. And that like it felt like a party. And like how much of that was like, and like in knocking doors, it was being social. And like it was really interesting to try to like think more about what they did on that campaign as far as like the act, like people having fun while doing it, and like how to capture that more and like recreate that organically.
That's really interesting. And I think it's like everybody always says like you got to meet people where they are, and but it's like, but are you really doing that? Or are you,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that's a perfect example. It's like you don't just talk about the counties that you're going to. Where are the places you're going in the counties? And how are you showing up to people who might not have otherwise had any idea who you were or what this election even was? And yeah, you want to like create some sort of energy where people are like, wait, what's going on over there? Everybody looks like they're having fun. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and
That's another
so,
thing with Mamdani too. Since you mentioned that, Kristen, the his approach, like there's so much doom in Democratic politics over the past year, and not unjustifiably, right? Um, but he has like, I think there was a video clip going around of him today, like endorsing somebody for a different office or something like that. Maybe it was his old seat. I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was done with such positivity, and I think that is so often missing from like, and I know going back to to the 24 campaign with the joy and Kamala Harris and all that, you don't want to like discount people's real, very real struggles and challenges and all of that, but if you're just gonna be like a doom sayer for whatever,
So
it's just not always effective.
and that so this is one of the things I feel like, and Kate knows this because I feel like I've talked about this a lot, of like how do either like how do I want to phrase this in this moment, because I feel like in like my thing has been, how do you bring humor to the news, how do you make like bring levity and all these things, and like in a moment that feels really tone deaf to do that, like how do you do what you're saying, like how do you bring joy to things while also not missing the mark and like being realistic about what we're all seeing through our phones, and not some of us are not experiencing personally yet, but like I this is like my day in day out struggle, like somewhat with the show feels a little bit easier because it's a conversation that's flowing, but like how to show up online and like talk about things and not like just be full of rage, because that's what it feels like the moment needs, but it also feels so inorganic to how like I am and how I usually present, that it just feels like I'm just gonna not at all, because it just either feels forced or not real or tone deaf or something. And so I don't know how you guys think about that, but like I want to live in like the joy and the humor, but it also does not feel like the right time to do that. So who's doing it well, or like what is the right balance of that? I don't know if it's something that you guys are facing, but it's certainly something that I feel every day.
yeah, I think the only way I've figured that out, because I do struggle with this too, and ultimately, and I know like Dan, your job is a little bit different, right? So you're not gonna like necessarily wear your heart on your sleeve every day as much as like I am going to, but
Unless it's
the
during a Bucks game, I guess. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, we can tell exactly
But
what
you
you're
still wearing the
thinking.
hat,
Okay.
like real proudly, despite everything.
But I think the true answer is that a lot of people are feeling like that, Kristen. So I just show up both ways. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
however I'm feeling. Sometimes I'm freaking pissed and I just show up that way. And then sometimes, like, it's a little bit more lighthearted. And the real people who, like, know you and are watching your work know you're not being tone deaf. It's just like we are multi-dimensional people.
Yeah.
Um, I'm not willing to, like, we have to recognize the struggle that's going on and fight for the vulnerable people who need more voices. And also, it's like, this is my one life too, and this is my kid's only childhood, you know what I mean? And like, and humor is like this wonderful connector. So I think it's just like, sometimes we overthink it. It's like, should I show up like this? Should I show up like this? It's like, I was just listening to, was I telling you this? Or maybe I was telling somebody else this who asked the same, they were having a similar conversation of like, how should I be showing up? So I was just listening to the Amy Poehler podcast episode with Kristen Wiig. And
Oh, okay.
she was talking about like when she started at SNL, and you know, Amy was talking about how she's like, you've always been so on, like so confident, and you have these ideas and nobody knows where the hell they come from, but they just like land, and you've never seemed to like waver on those. And where did that come from? And she started saying, she's like, when she just always like has ideas and kind of has always like felt pretty confident in them. But when she started at SNL, she was in a meeting and she was like going through something. And then she said to somebody else who she was running lines with, she's like, "Ooh, I don't know if Lauren is going to like that." And whoever the person was, I can't remember, was like, "Don't do that. If you start making stuff, even for Lauren, if you start writing stuff for someone else, it's not going to land. Like, you have made it where you are because you have a very good sense of what you think is funny. And it's not always going to land with people. Sometimes people don't like it, but you will." And I think that was like, I kind of took that, and it, like, I feel like there's a lot of lessons there to other, you know, obviously, unfortunately, we're not all comedians at SNL, but
We're not all Kristen Wiig.
yeah, I mean, I do think it's like a good lesson of just like, if you just put out the kind of stuff that you're thinking about and that you'd want to hear, and the connections you want to create, then like your people will come, you know?
Yeah.
That's honestly, when I was getting ready for the forum last night, like that was kind of my, you know, I was writing this introduction and whatever else. I was, and you know, it's not a completely stress-free event to be preparing for something like that.
Right.
But it's also like kind of what I was thinking about it too. It's just like, you know, yeah, they asked me to do this. I'm going to do my best with it. I'm going to do it my way. And, you know, we'll go from there. So I shared a little bit about like you know, my own personal story with starting Recombobulation Area and being a small business owner and trying to connect that with everything else that we were talking about at the forum last night. And I don't know, hopefully people enjoyed it. I was pretty happy with how it went. So
yeah, I thought it was great, and I thought you did great. It was
Thank
like
you.
the perfect, you know, perfect vibes. And I think I was actually surprised with like how well you guys kept things on schedule. I don't think I could ever do one of those things that's so time boxed, because I'm just like more of a ranter, and I'm like, just let them go, you know. But it was, because I was like, how are we gonna have this many people and it's only an hour and a half and really keep things on schedule? But it was on schedule, and I do feel like the time increments were enough to give people the time they needed to do that. Obviously, this was not it was not the format of them going back and forth with each other.
A debate.
And that will come, you know.
Yeah.
And so I guess
and it wasn't a town hall either, so it wasn't like
Yeah.
people lining up at the microphone to have their opportunity to ask the question either. It was a
kind
different
of
type
the
of thing.
I feel like it was like the unofficial kickoff, right? And it was like
Yeah.
kind of the first introduction to the people. And I think even though it probably sounded to a lot of people like they're all Democrats that were on the stage, and so they're all, you know, you may think they have the same ideas, but I think there was a lot of subtlety in like the differences between them. What were your like any major takeaways right off the bat, or anything that surprised you?
Well, just to go from what you were saying there, I feel like there are kind of it's the nuance, right? So like all the Democrats are going to agree to expand access to healthcare, to childcare, to, you know, paid leave, a lot of these issues that Main Street Action kind of operates in. But also, I think there are like these kind of micro primaries happening within the larger field here, like, you know, and I think there are both kind of like ideologically happening, like who's going to try to grab the progressive lane or the moderate lane, or like the, you know, experienced executive type of lane or whatever. And then I think there's also like, you know, once we really get into it, I think there's going to be some regional kind of micro primaries too. Who's going to really stand out as this Milwaukee, southeastern Wisconsin candidate? Who's going to be the Madison, Dane County candidate? Who's going to be able to speak to the rest of the state? And I'd be interested to see kind of where you guys think those candidates might lie on that spectrum. But with the large field and the fact that, all 7 of these candidates fundraise to the extent that they are viable candidates, going to continue to be viable candidates.
Yeah.
And I think, as we saw on stage last night, they're capable in a forum too. So if they can fundraise, if they can get out in front of people and share their views, this is going to be competitive for a while. And I'm really interested to see kind of where this goes.
Did you guys see Eric Gunn's write-up in Wisconsin Examiner?
I did. I thought it was a really good piece.
Oh, I'll have to read it. I haven't
And
seen it.
The thing that stood out to me was, as someone who wasn't here in 2018, he interviewed someone who was a 78-year-old Democrat who commented that looking back or comparing the lineup last night to the group of candidates who ran in 2018 when it was another really crowded primary, he was way more impressed with this group than how competitive it was in 2018, which that was my biggest takeaway as far as how competent is not the right word, but how clearly well versed and the variety of experience everyone has that was on stage and how they talked about issues. It didn't feel like anyone didn't deserve to be on the stage. Which is a really good starting point. I think there's one comment that I'm not going to name who said it to me, but made me start thinking about one of the things that, what you were saying, there's the regional thing and the progressive lane and stuff like that. I also think there is in a vibes category, I think there's a certain was between invoking Scott Walker's name last night a couple times and also everything obviously that's going on with Trump. How much of the base wants retribution and wants someone who's going to come in there and be fuck you, we're doing what we're doing. Especially if they get the trifecta, right? Especially if Democrats get the Assembly and the Senate, and the amount of the people who want to get even versus want someone who's going to work together. And I don't know exactly how to call those candidates, but I think that there's a difference. There are going to be some people in the base who want whether you call it a fighter, whether you call it someone who is aggressive, whether you call it we are pushing, if we get this, we are pushing our agenda through versus a softer approach of I work together, I compromise. And I don't know exactly how to, but I'll be interested to see how much of that dynamic comes to play.
I don't necessarily think, though, the fighters are trying to get back or get even. I think there's a difference. They're just fighting for the people.
Candidates. I'm talking about the base, that there is a part of the base who wants that. And that is what they're looking for in a candidate. I'm not saying any of the candidates sound like that, but as far as voters who that's where their feeling is of what kind of candidate they're looking for.
The dark woke contingent of the Democratic Party.
Well, I mean, I do think about
paying attention since Scott Walker. There's a lot of Democrats who are salivating at the point that we can find finally getting out from under Voss and Walker and as Fran said last night, put a stake in Act 10 and it's never coming back, right? There is a lot of those people out there.
Because here's the thing, and I wasn't I think I was around back then, but I wasn't paying attention this closely at all. But I obviously, and before then, I certainly wasn't paying attention. But Walker won, and they got the trifecta, and they went for it. They went in and totally changed everything. And Democrats never seem to do that. And I know that people love Evers and he has a pretty good approval rating, but he is not that. And also he doesn't have a trifecta, right? So he has a different role. He has to, if he wants anything done, does have to work with Voss, basically. But I do think
8 years of divided government, his last state of the state, less than a month away now. It's been the dynamic the whole time of he hasn't been able to advance the actual agenda.
So yeah, I totally, and that's what I'm saying. In the opportunity of that happening, what do voters want? Do they want someone who can actually get things done and in a 50-50 state? Because even and that's what I'm talking about, the dynamic of what does the base want? Because I've been talking to some people at work today who are Republicans, but like have voted for Democrats. And they, not surprisingly, are more interested in like a Missy Hughes, Joel Brennan general election, but like also very obviously are like, can they make it through a Democratic primary?
Yeah.
Like, it's a very different thing to win the primary versus being a strong general election candidate. And the unknown is like, where is the Democratic voter, like primary voters' sentiment right now is what they're looking for. Like with like energy, style, because like what stood out to me last night was, as far as like the big issues, everyone wants the same things. How we get there is like the nuanced difference. And so like you have to be more of a policy person and be like, does like everyone's like being able to sign up for the state plan versus expanding Badger Care or expanding a public option, like what do those things mean versus like, yes, they're in favor of a different additional way for people to get affordable health care. Everyone's for paid leave, right? Like in different like ways to get there. But the energy and style and like electability, I think, I don't know how far away we are from like the electability thing starting to bubble up, but like it's coming, right?
Oh,
We
yeah.
had questions on that that we didn't get a chance to ask in their like gazillion audience questions that we were reviewing before.
What were the
We only
questions?
actually got to ask like 3 of the 100
I'm
audience
gonna say,
questions
what were the
that we
best
got
questions you
before.
didn't get to ask?
We had a
What were
lot
the
on
best questions you didn't get to ask?
I mean, there were so many. We asked one at the very end and had all the candidates answer one about what's happening in Minneapolis and about ICE and about striking the right. I thought it was phrased pretty well. It was like about striking the right balance between, not being soft on crime and still protecting against federal overreach and all of the insanity that's happening now. And I thought the responses to that were pretty fascinating too. And but we had a lot of questions on data centers. We had a lot of questions on ICE, a lot of questions on healthcare, a few questions on childcare. Some really nuanced stuff. There was one question about like leadership experience that I wanted to have a chance to ask, but we didn't quite get to. There was a couple that I wanted to ask too about, stuff that's like in the news. I wanted to ask about the Republican no tax on tips bill that got passed this week and how, kind of like how people, in this kind of like more working class Main Street economy, service industry type setting, how people might respond to that. I had another immigration related question. I think Democrats need to be talking more about immigration, even, not just about like being anti-Trump and talking about ICE, but also just like Republicans are talking about this as an economic issue and saying you can't buy a house because immigrants bought them all, which is nonsense. But like they're using it as an economic argument. They're using it as a kitchen table argument. So that you should have, I think we need to see Democrats like articulate actual positions on that too. And then, obviously because it was Main Street Action and the group that it was, I think it was a lot of those small business kitchen table issues, which I think it's great that they were the first ones hosting this forum because those are the types of issues that I think are going to be winning ones for Democrats. You look at expanding access to healthcare, childcare, paid leave, stuff like that. These are like 70-30 issues for Democrats by and large. And I think, Kristin, you talked a little bit about like the Walker era stuff and like, how nuts they're going to go if Democrats win. But like, there's also just so much low hanging fruit, like there's like Wisconsin being one of only a handful of states not to have expanded Medicaid. Like that's a pretty simple, obvious thing for Wisconsin to do. So I think I think the kitchen table issues really stood out for sure.
Well, okay, can we talk about Medicaid expansion for a sec too? Like, what does that mean? Because there was a lot of answers too of like, yes, of course we should do that, and then a couple answers of like, that's the bare minimum. What is on the table right now that we're still not accepting? It's just expanding the parameters so that more people can access Medicaid.
So that was the original. So basically, it was matching money from the federal government if we expanded the criteria and like raised the threshold of who qualified for Medicaid. What I don't understand, and Dan, you might understand this, how does this square with like the one big beautiful bill and like actual funding of Medicaid, like is that even like a viable option anymore if we expand it now? Is there still money to be matched, or is that gone?
From what I understand, there's still money to be matched, but they're kind of just doing like this backdoor way of gutting all of it. And so it's just not going to be like at the same degree. But it's still like Wisconsin does not have. Wisconsin is in like this bucket with, you know, like Florida and Texas and some other deep red states that have not expanded Medicaid, and so it would bring extra health care coverage to tens of thousands of Wisconsinites immediately.
Okay. And so, but when they're talking about the public option, that's something different, right? Or that is just because that's not really a public. That's not for all the public. It's just for qualifying public.
Yeah, it's. I think that, you know, was one thing that kind of fell off when they were trying to pass the Affordable Care Act. Initially, they had the plans for the public option for basically to give people an option to buy like government-run health insurance instead of what, you know, we would do now is buy like, you know, on the Affordable Care Act marketplace, you're still buying from a health insurance company, where this would be like a organization that would be run and not for profit, in, you know, as so many of these places are. And so that having the public option for Badger Care, I think is something that especially a lot of small business owners who don't have, their health care tied to their employment status, I think that would just be hugely beneficial. There's a lot of studies that suggest it would drive down cost. And it's honestly just because of Joe Lieberman that we don't have it as part of Obamacare already. But now I'm going to have to go back into my like 2010 nerdery because I was covering healthcare in the early 2010s at Biz Times Milwaukee. So, yeah.
So, but how does that compare to what Kelder Royce suggested, which is the opportunity for people to buy into the state program, which is what like our elected officials currently have?
I'd have to go back and dig into the details on that.
Because that's what I think is interesting.
When
they say public option, like a state-run public option, how much of that is like starting from scratch versus what kind of it's an option for our public employees, basically, or whatever, our elected employees, and like it's a health insurance program that already exists, and just opening it up for more people to buy into. Is the difference there? It's like serves as a public option, but that's already being negotiated as far as prices go and copays and everything like that. And I'd have to look more into like what the difference is.
And I think this conversation right here is exactly why we need to see actual plans from the candidates. And I know like political consultants will say otherwise. They'll be like, it's too in the weeds. You just need like we want healthcare, we want universal childcare, we want all this. And that's where I struggle a little bit. I'm like, I don't think we give people enough credit. I think the voters are much hungrier for details and nuance than we give them credit for. I think, yeah, maybe in the last few weeks, it's just like stick to the high level stuff and hammer it home. But right now, 8-9 months out, I think people want to see like the plans and like, what are you going to do? And what are you capable of doing? Like as governor, and not just tell us the pie in the sky. We all know ideally what you all want, you know? But what can you do and what do you plan to do? And do you have a plan A for if there is a trifecta and a plan B for if you're still dealing with a Voss controlled legislature? And I don't know if they have all of those plans yet. And I know that's like not the norm, but in the post Project 2025 era, as much as I hated that, I was also just like, could we get something like that? A big old PDF with some plans?
A governing agenda. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I did hear some of that last night. It was good to hear some people start to talk about the plans and the way they would do that, which is why I liked this forum in particular. It was a way to talk about affordability without just like the big umbrella of affordability, you know, talking about those policies that really affect a lot of business owners and also everybody else who relies on small businesses, which is everybody.
Well, what did you guys think of the way that we set up the questions with having half of the panel answer one and having half answer the other? Now that I'm going back, I was just like, oh, I wish that candidate would have had a chance to answer this one or
Had a chance.
whatever. But not having, every candidate answer every single thing would have been a 4-hour forum if we did that.
I do think the only thing was that we're talking about this today. I was like getting people's feet, like, because I think it's like, what else do you want? Like, how you and I were talking about this last night. I do think potentially the 2-minute answers,
which became 3-minute answers. Yeah.
Right. Like if you would have like from the get go, if it's you got a minute. There's too many people. You got a minute. Just get to the point. Because I also get that like why you split it up because again there is a fair amount of overlap of ideas, and so do you have 7 people saying variations of the same answer? And is like I think the better question is rather like what are other forums or formats is a better word as events go forward. Like we obviously there's a debate, but like there's a bunch of rules around the debate as far as the logistics to get that planned. But like and I'd be interested to see anyone who's listening right now or people who watch this later of like people's ideas of like what do they want in order to get more information from the candidates? Is it seeing like the opportunity to just sit and like talk with them in person? Is it one-off events? Is it more forums in a different format? Like, that's what I'm saying. Cause like with this many people, it's hard. Like, I don't like beyond the time change. Like, I don't know what else I would have told you guys to do that was in your control while still being fair to everyone.
And that was the challenge.
Yeah. Teaching people's attention.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think, I mean, I do think it was split up because it would, the repetition was already like, even when it was 4, it was like, okay, we definitely didn't need to hear all 7 answer the same question.
Yeah.
But there are certain, and I will say, all of these candidates I know would be more than willing to have a conversation with anybody. I'm sure they all welcome people showing up to their events, emailing them. I would hope. I mean, anybody let us know if you've tried to get in touch with them and they're not getting back to you because that would be interesting. But I'm pretty sure they're all candidates would welcome that opportunity to talk to people. And I know like Dan, well, both of you, I'm sure, you do interviews all day long. I'm sure you have certain questions in mind for some of them that you don't necessarily have for others that would be interesting to get those answered. And I hope, we probably will have the opportunity for that. Like, I'm assuming. Do you think you'll be able to?
I think what it becomes is also the opportunity for journalists. Like Missy was on the show today because she wanted to talk about economic plan.
How did that go?
Yesterday. It was great. It was great as far as like it was as far as like the ability to have very recent knowledge of like how she answered some things last night and be able to follow up on those answers immediately today. To be like, you said this, like, so it's like, I think one of the main, we talk about the overlap, but like one of the main differences I think that came out last night was when the question was like, should millionaires and billionaires be taxed more? And like Mandela was unequivocally like, yes. And Joel and Missy were like, it's more complicated than that, right? Like their answer was not unequivocally yes. Missy's was something along the lines of like, we need to grow the economy so that it lasts beyond administration changes, which I actually think is true, right? Like as far as if we have more business happening, period, that is making the pie bigger, while also still saying everyone needs to pay their fair share. I actually can't remember what Joel's answer was to that question, but it wasn't as straightforward and memorable as Mandela's was. And so like that was a point of like, I think you could actually see, you could point out a difference of how the answers were. So I think the opportunity to like say, like get them to answer what they answer. And then it's journalists or people who are paying attention to ask the follow-up questions when there is more time or when you do have them in a one-on-one or a one-to-many situation of like having them have the ability to expand or defend what they said.
Yeah. And also, though, town hall formats are good because, well, you guys are a different kind of journalist. You know what I mean? Sometimes, and I love all the journalists in the state and I appreciate the work that they do, but sometimes I watch all the interviews on like the basic, on the political shows, and it's just like the questions are stuff we already know, you know, and it's like, can we get a little spicier,
Yeah.
maybe?
So like a hot ones for Wisconsin.
Yeah. Well, that's why I'm like, sometimes in the I'm like, can I get a press pass? Like, I'll get in
Yeah.
there and ask some questions that nobody else wants to ask. But, you know, sometimes I'm like, can we just like I mean, these people are
You
running
stop
to
being
be
so
the,
nice and start getting real. Is that
well,
what
it's
you
just
want?
like, yeah, it is like, I mean, I know they're trying to be professional, obviously. And, you know, I'm not saying I'd go crazy, but sometimes I'm like, let's cut the shit.
Well,
Like,
it's
no,
professional
this
and
is
it's
what we
also
need to
it's professional
know.
and it's also here's the thing. Like Ron Johnson will not come on Steve's show anymore. Like it's not what is now our show, which was once Steve's show, because Steve's like been honest and like not talk shit, but like he's been honest about his opinion of some of the things that Ron Johnson has said. And now Ron Johnson won't come on his show. And so it's like the thing for some of the journalists is like preserving the relationship. Right. And so it's like sometimes it's like in both trying to ask a question that is unbiased and straight to the point, but also like having the balls to be like Kara Swisher, I've heard her say, she's like, interview like you're never going to interview them again.
Well, that's why actually
and
I
so
think
she
like
asked the ballsy question.
I think there's like creators could play an interesting role there because I don't give a shit about preserving a relationship. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Totally.
You know, so like whereas like I know obviously journalists do, and you know you have to play to both sides, and it's like you have this ethics that you like, you know, whereas not that I don't have ethics, but you know what I mean. It's like I think there's like if there's more creators in these spaces too, maybe asking some different questions and just the general public too, that they should be able to answer any of that. They're all trying to be the literal top executive of our entire state. So I'm kind of don't want any more softballs. So what I'm saying.
All right. I want to see the Kate Duffy hardball interview series coming up. But I do think it is, you know, because with how much the media landscape has changed. And I do think this year, you know, I was just thinking about this yesterday. You know, I started the recombobulation area in 2019. And I think from 2019 to now, the media landscape has changed so much. And I think independent media and creators and, you know, just all sorts of different like social media avenues to be part of this and all of that. I think there's going to be, you know, I think we saw that in the 2024 campaign, and Democrats were weird about joining podcasts and having long form conversations and, you know, trying not to be so safe about everything. Like, I think we're going to see a form of that in Wisconsin, too. And I think the right will be all over that kind of stuff with, you know, different content creators or people with Turning Point and, you know, all sorts of different stuff that's going to be happening. So I think it's going to be a year for some weirdness in the media space, and I look forward to that. Honestly, like the stuffy traditional media world of things is, you know, I think a lot of it is pretty antiquated, and so you know, doing different stuff I think is going to, because people are going to have to figure out how to break through in this attention economy. Like I think you know, so many of these candidates have made themselves very available. We've had so many people on civic media, a lot of candidates over the past couple of weeks passing through Wausau. We've had a bunch of gubernatorial candidates do interviews at our Wausau station over the past just 2 weeks here. So you know, there's going to be opportunities for that, but I think there's going to be, you know, people going on Motherhood for Good's Instagram or something like that too, you know?
Yeah, and I mean, well, we have seen that. Like, I know Fran has been like she did like a streaming thing, and she's been meeting with different creators, and also I think seeing all of them on the stage last night, I do think they are some of the best communicators that we have, which is really exciting to me. I think I think any of them can handle these different scenarios and these different conversations, which is exciting to me. I didn't feel like anybody up there was like awkward or too scripted or like just I didn't hear much of like the boring political talking points. I feel like they all did a really good job just being like straight shooters and speaking like humans, and it felt all conversational to me for the most part, which is even so much better than it was a couple years ago, I feel like.
It'll be interesting. So like we, you know, like the push and pull of having crowded primary versus, you know, I actually will say Josh Schoeman raised more money than I thought he was going to, as far as whatever competitive landscape.
Yeah,
Is going to
what
be
was his
between Tom
number?
Tiffany and Josh Schoeman. He was over $1 million. I mean, just like shy over $1 million, and Tom Tiffany was $2 million. But I think I think that'll be interesting. But like Tom Tiffany's hubris so far, as like having a lock on it, and like but being untested, right? As far as if it doesn't become that competitive between him and Josh Schoeman, not even because of like money, but just because of having to sharpen your message to differentiate yourself to get through the primary, like how and whoever emerges from the Democratic side will have had to do that, and how that will, if it ends up being Tom Tiffany against whomever, how rusty or like how that's going to affect his campaign, as far as him just kind of thinking that he's the heir apparent and not having to do some of the work now, and also not having to do some of the work of like, if you think about like the 7X work that's going to be done to capture people's attention during this primary, and as long as it doesn't get ugly, ideally that attention and momentum goes into whomever the candidate ends up being. I don't know. I think it'll be interesting to see, like, is Tom Tiffany going to be able to do the work if he doesn't have to, and how is that going to affect post primary?
Well, and I think too I was talking to somebody else about this last night, and just the fact that there are not that many Republicans running, I think is indicative of kind of where the party is right now in Wisconsin. They do not have a deep bench.
No.
They don't. Like, they can spin it however many ways that they want to, but it's like, I feel like they've run through a couple of the rich guys and people running more than one campaign, and the state Supreme Court, Schimmel running one place and then another. Like, I just don't think it's a particularly impressive bench. And you look at the equivalent of legislative leaders who are running in the Democratic Party, county executives, other folks from the cabinet. Like, there are not that reflected in where the Republican Party. There are no members of the legislature who are going to run for governor. That seems crazy to me.
That's a very good point. That is crazy.
And I also think that, Democrats should be happy that who I think would be the best Republican statewide candidate is not running. And I think that would be Brian Stile. Again, not somebody I'm going to agree with, but I think he would be a good statewide candidate. He outruns the top of the ticket every single election. He's proven to be a very good fundraiser. He's a telegenic guy. Like, the fact that I would be much more worried about running against Brian Stile than Tom Tiffany. Don't you think?
What do you think the calculus there is? He's like running for Senate?
I mean, it seems like
his next move now that Gallagher is not in politics anymore.
I would think that would probably. I mean, usually you think members of Congress would, when they take the step up, it's to Senate, because that's kind of the logical next step. Actually, Craig Gilbert from the Journal Sentinel had a piece on the governor's race this week where he mentioned that there's never been a member of Congress elected governor in Wisconsin who's gone straight from Congress to governor. So Tiffany, he was going through the list of potential firsts in the field, and it's just first black governor, first woman governor, and it was first member of Congress ever to get elected. And I was like, wait, what? And I thought that was a really interesting point. You don't usually go from Congress to governor,
It also kind of makes me think, as we're just talking about this, because I'm in Stiles district too, and I know the first is always kind of lumped in with the third as maybe a winnable district in terms of the data. And I'm always just no, he's not, I mean, maybe this year, but he's just not offensive enough. He hasn't, just like you said, I mean, he's a younger guy. He can turn on the charm. I could see him being a viable candidate. Maybe they're having a hard time finding people because they don't have that many good people, but also because they know it's in a midterm year when they got Trump there, Stile might not want to even do that. Also they are desperately going to try to hold on to the House.
Mm-hmm.
So
I think that's a big part of it. He's kind of become in leadership in the House. And if they're going to be, he'll probably, he's a good fundraiser on his own. I imagine he's fundraising for the House, House reclaim the House, keep the House committee or whatever they call these things.
Whatever happened to the other guy who used to have that district and then was running for vice president? Oh my God, what's his name?
Ryan Paul,
Ryan?
was that it?
Oh, yeah. Wait, Paul
He's
Ryan.
on the Fox Board.
I'm
He's
just
making a
messing
shit
with
ton of
you.
money. He's fine.
Where'd he go?
He's just making a shit ton of money. I know he's definitely he's on the Fox board. Every once in a while he pops up and says something that's like, I don't approve of Trump, and then a bunch of like MAGA people are like, we don't fucking care, and he's like inconsequential now. But then like there's like the old guard Republicans who like wish like Paul Ryan, if only.
Well, okay, so that's another interesting point because there's clearly a we see Democrats infighting all the time. It's a big tent party, so there's a lot of different ideas, and everybody thinks the Republicans are all on the same page. But there's clearly a divide in the Wisconsin GOP party too. There is the old guard GOP people, and then there was a big influx in Turning Point and the Turning Point leadership that came into the state, and there seems to be a lot of different ideas. And I wonder if Josh Schoeman, like, I don't know if there's a difference between who has which people. I don't know.
That's a good question. I could probably, because the leader of the chairman of the Milwaukee County Republicans came on our show, young guy, and he's a Turning Point guy. I wonder if I reached out to him if he had, because when he was on, we didn't really get into it as much as far as a Showman versus Tom Tiffany thing.
Because there was some real drama I was watching go down, I think, after the last Supreme Court race of.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's also interesting. You want to talk about the Supreme Court race? Like, Maria Lazar is dead in the water. Like, that's not a race.
Yeah, even Dan O'Donnell was pretty much saying she was dead. When Dan O'Donnell doesn't have any faith in you.
Yeah, so it's like, and I don't know what the ramifications of, and I think Rebecca Bradley just kind of screwed everyone, like her deciding not to run and announcing that so late, and the ability to try to even recruit a better, I'm not gonna say better, like any candidate who's like, so it's like they're just like tossing it up. And so I don't know if if that comes back on shimming and being like, where's the leadership? Where's the strategy? But yeah, I mean, this is going to be a totally different Supreme Court race than we've experienced even before, like since 2019, like pre-2019, of us just being like, well, Chris Taylor's raised 10x of Maria Lazar. So like, what are we doing? This is not a race.
And then there's also, I was posting about this last week, and I had somebody in the comments that just perfectly sums up the Maria Lazar campaign. She seems to be unable to stop talking, but also have nothing to say whenever she's in a forum. She just like, it kind of has been blurting out like things that she probably shouldn't be saying on like abortion or whatever. And then she also was saying like, oh, it doesn't matter if I get elected anyway, it's still only going to be 4-3. So it's just like, what an inspiring message that we have here. It doesn't matter if I win or not.
Which is definitely the energy that race is giving. It's like, although we can't get too complacent, like it's, nothing's ever in the bag here in Wisconsin. And even though I feel like people are less worried because, I mean, we absolutely killed the last two, but also the messaging was everywhere. I mean, we were like, people were fighting for their lives for those races.
Totally impact turnout, right?
Yeah. Like if people don't show up, anything could happen.
Mm-hmm.
So that's on me too. I'm like, I keep being like, I got to start talking about that.
Dan and I were talking about this last night. Like, there is no other big race. Like, there is no mayor of Milwaukee. There is no mayor of Madison. There is no DPI.
There's a bunch of suburban mayors. I was doing actually a little research on this. There's going to be a bunch of suburban. Waukesha is going to have one. Brookfield's going to have one. A few others that I think are going to be of interest too. But you're right. It's not anywhere close to the spring election last year or in 23 or really any of the, kind of standout Supreme Court races that we've had. And Chris Taylor is a heavy favorite to win that one, which would really, I mean, it would be 5-2 liberals, but really 5-1 Hagedorn, So
I mean, which
So
is
that's
amazing.
interesting.
And it feels so good to, yeah, like not be fighting for our lives on that and to be able to, I mean, that was so much work to flip the balance of that. And it's a
Hmm.
huge deal. Like, I know it doesn't feel like it sometimes, but we do have the different branches of government and they have very important roles. And it is like imperative that we do hold on to that. So,
Oh,
because
one other thing that I saw some news on today that I think is interesting for if we're looking ahead to elections. The state senator from District 5, Rob Hutton, announced
yeah,
he is not going to be running for re-election.
I saw that. And
He also raised like no money. So like
Yeah.
that, yeah, right?
He has
Here's
raised no money. And so that is a district that is, Wauwatosa, Brookfield, Elm Grove, Western Milwaukee suburbs. Kamala Harris won the district by 6 in 24 election. I keep wanting to say last year. It's not last year anymore. And the fact that and Robin Vining is the Democrat running there, and she has been a very strong campaigner. She was the first Democrat to flip a seat under the gerrymander. She's outperformed expectations a couple different times, and so now she has a pretty good chance of flipping that seat. And if Democrats flip one more, they will control the state Senate for the first time in more than 15 years.
who else has not in the close races like Mark Line, Ben Wagner, like are any of those other guys not like decided definitively if they are or not?
I don't think Vanguard has decided either way. He didn't really fundraise much at all either.
oh, really?
He's also 73, so same age as Tony Evers, and there was some annoying columnist who said that's too old to run for another 4-year term. And I think Mark Line's going to be running again though, because I think I saw that one of the interest groups was already doing mailers for him. I think it was WMC. So him, I think will run again. That's in southwestern Wisconsin. Jenna Jacobson is one of the candidates there. Corrine Hendrickson is one of the candidates there. And then in the 21st, where Vanguard is the incumbent, Trevor Young, who is the he's in
Who raised a
Racine.
lot of money.
He raised a lot
He
of money.
did? I didn't see his numbers.
He
Yeah,
raised like over 100 grand.
yeah.
That's awesome. I'm excited to like see more of his campaign. He's
Oh, isn't he like married to a reality star or something like that? Or there's
He's
some sort of reality
engaged
TV?
to the Wisconsin woman who won, who wants to be a farmer's wife or something like that.
oh,
So she was like a contestant who won, and like I don't even know if she was engaged to the farmer, but like they
Okay.
dated for a second, and then she met Trevor, and she was like, I'm gonna marry this guy. Yeah, so I think they're just engaged. I don't think they're married yet.
Okay.
one other shakeup I saw though is that there was a Democrat running in the Oak Creek area assembly who now has suspended her campaign, and there's a different guy running as a
Yeah.
Democrat. Which is
Yeah, there was a switch
interesting.
up there. I don't know what happened. I want to learn more, but I heard about that too. That's a little weird. It's a district. That's another really tough one in the assembly. Jesse Rodriguez is the incumbent there, and she is another person that has overperformed expectations down
Yeah.
ballot relative to the top of the ticket. That was one. I think Harris won that district by like 8, but Rodriguez still won. So they need a better candidate than they had the last time. So they can't miss on that one. The fact that they lost both of the Milwaukee County kind of swing districts with Rodriguez and Bob Donovan both getting reelected. That was tough.
Has anyone announced to run against Bob Donovan?
Not that I'm aware of.
No.
And not that
Not
I'm
yet?
aware of
Okay.
either.
There's still time.
So-
But the assembly, that was another thing in the fundraising. The assembly's campaign committee, the Democrats in the Senate outraised the Republicans in the Senate, but RAC, the Republican Assembly Campaign Committee, outraised the Democratic Committee on the backs of a giant check from Liz Uline and Diane Hendricks. So
Right. Yeah. Well, okay. So one other sus thing that I had to take away from last night is I was wondering if Brittany Kinzer happens to live in Hutton's district because she was there last night.
interesting.
And I don't really know why I don't know. It felt a little, I don't know what she was doing there.
Brittany Kinzer? why she's there. I mean, I say this is like she. The thing that's interesting. So I had coffee with Brittany. I'd like to because I had interviewed her before she announced, and then she announced, and then like we in December we got together, and like it's what's interesting about Brittany is like she is not a politician, and so like when she decided to run, she did not realize that she was getting herself into. Like,
and just kind of got swept up in it.
She's a lifelong Democrat. Like lifelong Democrat. And so and so her trying to navigate trying to run, she did not realize that like aligning herself with Republicans would have her reputation make her
that she's campaigning with Derek Van Orden. Yeah.
And like a MAGA
Yeah. So like for the rest of my life, I'm just like the voucher queen. You know, that's like how I see her.
Like she's, you know, like when I said hi to her, like, you know, like she hugged Dave.
I will say she seemed very, very kind and nice.
Like she's a good person. And it's like I think she was served a lesson as far as what politics and was like she was not prepared for what like running for that seat was gonna entail. But like in her actual politics, she's a Democrat. Like I don't see her voting for a Republican next year.
Okay.
That'd be interesting. Well, you know, I think
Katie was so skeptical.
I know. I'm gonna start a little anonymous gossip girl Wisconsin politics column and be like, go after my
You need to start an alt like all these goofballs on Republican Twitter who get into my mentions on every goddamn thing.
Yeah.
The Shadow
Governor
have you figured out who
Shadow Governor?
Have you figured out who that is yet?
Wait,
I can never confirm or deny that I know who it is. Yeah.
What'd you say?
I can neither confirm nor deny that I know who it is.
On this, like, can you confirm via text message?
Sure.
Can you confirm or deny that it is Robin Voss himself or his wife?
It is not Robin Voss.
Or his wife?
Okay, well maybe we should wrap this up so then we can text about it.
I want to know how you figured it out. That's what I want to know.
I'm gonna do my Pablo Torre finds out episode. Do you guys want? You guys don't know who that is. It's a sports podcaster, but
I feel bad even mentioning it because I was listening to something the other day. It's like, do not platform your enemies, right? As far as like, do not give any air to the people who.
I disagree with that.
Not legitimize. Do you don't agree with that?
I disagree with that. Yeah, everybody has a platform.
Okay.
You can't not like, oh, am I going to platform someone? Everyone has a platform. That's no.
No, I
that
think
doesn't
he
matter.
meant in the way of like, so here's the example he gave, and then I know we got to go soon. He's like, Obama was the most powerful man in the world, and even as a joke, him even like making a joke out of Trump's like bringing his birth certificate out at the correspondence dinner to like pimp Trump, who was like the birther.
Mm-hmm.
He was like even giving that the airtime of like legitimizing the joke, or like through a joke legitimizing and platforming Trump's bullshit. Like don't do like his argument was don't do that, which I thought was really interesting because I think about this a lot as like in the with a certain fucking radio talk show host who likes to talk about me and has talked about me and has pinned me to his fucking Twitter profile before. Like my approach is.
Do we have the
like,
same first name as them?
Yeah. And there's another one who was just like like for me, it's like it's not even worth. Like it legitimizes their bullshit by even kind of like giving it air and acknowledge like beyond my own like private trusted text threads. But like publicly giving it air at all or like responding to it. And like there is, I don't know what I feel like there is more of an argument to be like, I'm above this and not mention it at all. But Dan, you disagree?
Yeah, I disagree. I argue with Republicans all the time on Twitter now because Twitter is mostly a Republican website these days.
Yeah.
Which I am extraordinarily comfortable with because I am from a very red part of the state,
True.
and I have been arguing with Republicans since I was 14. So I am I am not. I have a black belt in this, so I have no problem with being
I know
in
they
that
do
territory.
always come after you. I'm only there. I don't really want to be noticed there. I really just
Yeah.
lurk a lot. And
Yeah.
so sorry I never jump in. But you handle yourself well, but they do come for you a lot. Probably because you're like the only like Democrat left over there, maybe.
That's true. Yeah. Well, if I haven't left Wisconsin after Robin Voss running the Wisconsin state legislature, I'm not going to leave Twitter because of Elon. So,
Right. But I think what you're saying, Kristen, that political people sometimes don't understand, but I know this for sure because I come from marketing. All PR is good PR. And Donald Trump knows this. So
That's what I mean. So it's like to even like get in the mud is kind of like, I don't have the time.
right.
Right? And like that's my take on it. I also actually don't have the time of like, this is the thing with you, Dan. Like, I don't know how you find the time to fight with these people and the energy versus like all the other things you actually have to get done in a day. Cause like, and like, it's also like, who's even
I still get the stuff done though.
It brings him joy. Let him have this.
I know if you're deriving joy from it, who am I to take that away from
I'm not, but I'm doing it less. But it is. I don't know. I just think it's good to have a dialogue. Like there are
you feel
people.
like it's a dialogue though. Like I feel like I get to have a dialogue when I talk to people in person. Like when we have Republicans or people I don't agree with on the show, that feels like a dialogue that is happening in person. Like doing it with anonymous folks on the internet doesn't feel like a dialogue.
Yeah, but like there's enough people following it, like who are lurking.
Okay.
All
right. Fair.
Like me.
Who will send me DMs and be like, and say certain things. And I also feel like it has endeared me to a weird level of respect among folks on the right that I'm willing to like get in the weeds and get in the mud and have these arguments. I get all kinds of like backhanded compliments from like right-wing talk radio hosts and stuff like that. Like Jay Weber was blowing me up on something before he retired last month or whatever it was, but he it did this segment about something that I did on Twitter, and he was just like, oh, I don't really agree with him on anything, but he's pretty good at what he does, and he makes a reasonable argument, and he's not one of the crazies. And so I like.
Well, that's the thing. It's like you have to watch. If you're in this space, you have to watch what's going on both sides, and so you have to pick a couple of people on the other side that you can kind of tolerate, and you follow their stuff.
Yeah. Or people on our own side that I don't really like and can tolerate, and I'll follow their stuff too. There's a lot of those people too.
Yeah.
That's the hard one. It's like, oh, I agree with your politics, but you're a terrible person.
Oh my gosh.
It exists.
Oh, I'm biting my tongue right now.
I know we're getting into the 10 o'clock hour. We're getting a little too loose.
Yeah.
I am at this point showing the drinks that I have had. But.
Okay. Well, this was very fun, and yeah.
Well, I appreciate you guys coming out to the forum last night.
Was it cathartic as I predicted it would be?
What'd you say?
I said, was it as cathartic as I predicted it would be?
Yeah, this was good. It was good to like, debrief.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
All right. Next Thursday, are we all free?
Yeah, let's do this every Thursday. Dan, you just have an open invite. You can join whenever you want.
Sounds good.
Oh no, next week is Milwaukee's birthday party.
Oh.
The 180th. I went last year. I forgot to buy tickets this year, so I'm not going. Okay. But it is a fun event. The Grain Exchange.
Is it fun?
One of the most beautiful buildings in Milwaukee.
Yeah, it's a Grain Exchange. Okay. All right. Well, you two do it, and then I'll be back the following week.
All right. Sounds good.
All right. Bye, guys.
All right.
See ya.